She fled with me, but now her people want us dead. Whispers in the borderlands. The observatory dome glinted silver against the dusky twilight, a magnificent structure perched at the edge of two worlds. Thalia Voss adjusted her telescope with practiced precision, her slender fingers working the calibration dials as naturally as breathing. Below, the borderland stretched. To the east, the majestic peaks of her homeland Luminar rose like sentinels of polished stone and gleaming technology. To the west, the endless dunes of the Sunfire territories rolled in golden waves under the setting sun. "You're early tonight," a deep voice called from the entrance. Thalia didn't look up. "The celestial convergence waits for no one, Ravi, not even you." Ravi Nassar stepped into the dome, the light catching on the intricate bronze amulet at his neck, a navigator's compass, the highest honor among his nomadic people. Sand still clung to his boots and the edge of his indigo cloak, evidence of his hasty journey across the dunes. "Two moons will align tonight," Thalia continued, excitement coloring her voice. "A phenomenon that occurs once every 87 years. My calculations suggest it will reveal." "The hidden passage through the ghost mountains," Ravi finished, moving to stand beside her. "My grandmother's star maps predicted the same." Their eyes met, and the familiar spark ignited between them. The shared passion for knowledge that had first drawn them together 6 months ago in this neutral territory observatory, despite generations of distrust between their peoples. Thalia's people, the Luminarians, prided themselves on scientific advancement and technological mastery. They viewed the Sunfire nomads as primitive, superstitious wanderers unworthy of their precious knowledge. The nomads, in turn, saw the Luminarians as cold, arrogant hoarders of power who had lost touch with the natural rhythms of the world. Neither side approved of fraternization. Neither would understand what had blossomed between Thalia and Ravi, a connection deeper than cultural differences, a love born of shared wonder for the universe. "Did anyone follow you?" Thalia asked, her green eyes scanning the entrance. Ravi shook his head. "The border patrols were focused on a caravan to the south. And you?" "I told them I needed to document the convergence alone, for scientific purity." A smile touched her lips. "Director Holloway believes my dedication is admirable, if excessive." Ravi reached for her hand, his calloused fingers warm against her skin. "One day we won't need these deceptions." "One day," she agreed, though uncertainty clouded her voice. As darkness fell completely, they worked together in comfortable synchronicity, recording measurements and comparing notes. The first moon, Lyra, rose blood-red against the night sky, followed by the silver crescent of Nyx. As the celestial bodies approached alignment, Thalia felt a strange energy humming through the observatory instruments. "Something's happening," she whispered, adjusting the telescope's focus. "The readings are off the charts." The observatory door crashed open. Light flooded the dome as 4 uniformed figures burst in, weapons drawn. "Senior Astronomer Voss," barked a tall woman with a captain's insignia. "Step away from the nomad." Thalia froze, her blood turning to ice. "Captain Weston, this is a scientific outpost. Weapons are forbidden." "This is no longer a scientific matter," Weston replied coldly. "Your transmissions have been monitored. You've been sharing classified astronomical data with this outsider." Ravi straightened, his expression hardening. "The stars belong to no one." The captain's weapon shifted toward him. "Silence, nomad. The council has declared you an enemy of Luminar. The penalty is imprisonment." Thalia moved instinctively between them. "This is absurd. The observatory is neutral territory by international agreement. We've violated no laws." "The laws have changed as of this morning," Captain Weston replied. "Director Holloway has declared all astronomical data classified after the discovery in the northern quadrant. Your little relationship has compromised national security." Thalia's mind raced. The Northern Quadrant discovery, she'd heard whispers but nothing concrete. What could possibly justify this level of reaction? Without warning, Ravi moved. His hand found a small device on his belt, a sunfire flash bomb. The explosion of light blinded the guards momentarily, and his other hand grabbed Thalia's wrist. "Now or never," he said, his eyes questioning. In that split second, Thalia made her choice. She grabbed her research tablet and ran with him through the side exit into the night. Behind them, shouts and alarms pierced the darkness. They scrambled down the rocky path, away from the observatory and toward the Ghost Mountains, a treacherous range that separated the fertile plains of Luminar from the desert beyond. "They'll seal the border crossings within the hour," Thalia gasped as they ran. Ravi nodded grimly. "Then we don't use the crossings. There's an old smuggler's route through the mountains, if we can reach it by dawn." They ran until their lungs burned, the sounds of pursuit growing more distant. The path grew steeper, winding through sharp rocks that cut at their hands when they climbed. Thalia's city clothes, practical for an observatory but useless for this terrain, caught and tore on jagged edges. Dawn found them huddled in a narrow cave, watching as searchlights swept the valleys below. Thalia shivered, the mountain air bitter cold compared to the climate-controlled environments of Luminar. Ravi wrapped his desert cloak around her shoulders. "You didn't have to come," he said quietly. "You could have claimed I stole your research. They might have believed you." Thalia shook her head. "And let them imprison you, or worse." She clutched the tablet to her chest. "Besides, whatever they discovered in the Northern Quadrant, whatever made them change the laws overnight, it has to be connected to our work on the celestial convergence." "What exactly does your research show?" Ravi asked. Thalia activated the tablet, its soft blue glow illuminating their faces in the dim cave. "The convergence doesn't just reveal a passage through the mountains. According to these calculations, it reveals something hidden within the mountains." She showed him the projection, a map where the converging moonlight created a specific pattern across the mountain range. "There," she pointed to a glowing spot. "That's not a pass, it's a location. Something is buried there, something that only reveals itself during the convergence." Ravi studied the map intently. "That's in Sunfire territory barely, just beyond the disputed zone." His eyes widened. "The Valley of Ancestors, our most sacred site. Legend says it holds the knowledge of the first navigators." "And now Luminar wants it," Thalia whispered. "That's why they're after us. Not just because of our relationship. They think we've discovered the location of something valuable." For 3 days, they traveled through the mountains, using Ravi's knowledge of the terrain and Thalia's scientific instruments to evade the search parties. They found shelter in an abandoned mining outpost, a relic from when relations between their peoples had been less strained. As Thalia tended to Ravi's injured hand, cut while climbing a particularly steep cliff, she finally asked the question that had been haunting her. "What do we do now? We can't go back to Luminar, and your clan." "My clan respects those who follow the stars," Ravi said, wincing as she cleaned his wound. "But they won't welcome a Luminarian scientist into their midst easily, especially not with Luminar forces hunting us." Thalia's fingers stilled. "Then we're alone." Ravi cupped her face with his uninjured hand. "We have each other, and we have knowledge that both sides want." He nodded toward her tablet, knowledge that could change everything or start a war. Thalia looked at her research, the culmination of years of work, now potentially a weapon in a conflict she never intended to ignite. "There's a trading post 3 days' journey from here," Ravi continued. "Marava, it's neutral ground. We can find help there, maybe passage to somewhere beyond both territories." Outside, the wind howled through the mountain passes, and in the distance, search lights continued to sweep methodically across the lower slopes. Commander Freya Voss, Thalia's own cousin, had been spotted leading one of the search parties, her familiar silhouette unmistakable even from a distance. "They're not giving up," Thalia whispered. "Neither are we," Ravi replied, determination hardening his voice. "Tomorrow we head west, deeper into the mountains. There's an old temple where we can rest before making for Marava." As night fell completely, Thalia stared out at the stars, the same stars that had brought them together and now seemed to be driving them into unknown territory. Whatever lay in the Valley of Ancestors, whatever her own people were willing to imprison them for, it would change everything. The question was whether she and Ravi would survive to see it happen. Sleep came fitfully that night, filled with dreams of pursuit and strange lights in the sky. And somewhere in the darkness, the steady approach of those who would stop at nothing to find them. Shadows of the past. Marava emerged from the desert like a mirage, a chaotic collection of tents and stone structures clustered around ancient wells. Unlike the gleaming spires of Luminar or the elegant mobile encampments of the Sunfear clan, the trading post existed in defiant disorder, a place where outcasts, merchants, and wanderers could blend into the crowd. Thalia pulled her borrowed desert cloak tighter, grateful for the fabric that concealed her luminarian features. After a week of travel through the mountain passes, they had reached the relative safety of the neutral zone, but danger still lurked behind every shadow. "Keep close," Ravi murmured, guiding her through the crowded market. "Marava has no allegiance, which means anyone could be watching." His hand found the small of her back, a reassuring pressure as they navigated the throngs of traders. The scents of exotic spices and mechanical oil mingled in the dry air, evidence of Marava's position as crossroads between cultures. "Where are we going?" Thalia asked, her voice low. "To find an old friend," Ravi replied, "someone who might help us for the right price." They made their way to a workshop at the edge of the market, identifiable only by a tarnished metal sign depicting a compass rose. Ravi knocked 3 times, paused, then twice more. The door cracked open, revealing a suspicious eye. "Stars guide the lost," Ravi said, a traditional Sunfear greeting. The door opened wider, revealing a woman with copper-colored hair streaked with gray and arms marked with navigator's tattoos. Her eyes widened at the sight of Ravi, then narrowed at Thalia. "You bring a luminarian to my door," she said flatly. "Bold move, Nassar." "This is Juno," Ravi said to Thalia. "Best navigator in 3 territories and the closest thing to family I have outside my clan." "And you're Thalia Voss," Juno replied, surprising them both. "Senior astronomer of Luminar's Western Observatory. There's a considerable bounty on your head on both your heads." Despite her words, she stepped aside. "Better come in before someone recognizes you." The workshop interior was a fascinating blend of traditional Sunfear navigation tools and salvaged luminarian technology. Star charts covered the walls, alongside dismantled mechanical devices. Juno bolted the door behind them. "What kind of trouble are you in that has both Luminar security forces and Sunfire trackers hunting you?" "They're both after us," Ravi asked sharply. Juno nodded. "Luminar has a military detachment operating just outside the neutral zone, officially a scientific expedition. And 3 days ago, elder trackers from your own clan arrived, asking questions about a rogue navigator traveling with a stolen luminarian." "Stolen?" Thalia's indignation flared. "I chose to leave." "Not according to the official story," Juno replied. "They're saying you were coerced, that Ravi stole classified research and kidnapped you." She turned to Ravi. "Your clan elders believe you've betrayed them by sharing sacred navigational knowledge with an outsider." Ravi's jaw tightened. "Neither side wants to admit we left voluntarily." "Because that would mean acknowledging cooperation between our peoples is possible," Thalia added quietly. Juno gestured to a table cluttered with maps and instruments. "So what's this really about? What did you discover that has everyone so desperate to find you?" Hesitantly, Thalia placed her tablet on the table and activated the projection. The map of the Ghost Mountains appeared, with the convergence point clearly marked. The Valley of Ancestors, Juno breathed. The sacred site has been hidden for generations. Not just sacred, Ravi explained. According to our oldest legends, it contains technology from before the Sundering, when our peoples were one. Thalia nodded. My research suggests the site contains astronomical knowledge that could revolutionize navigation and possibly energy production. The convergence last week revealed its exact location, but only for a few hours. And you recorded it, Juno concluded. No wonder they're hunting you. Luminar wants the technology, and the Sunfire clan wants to protect their sacred site. The silence that followed was heavy with implication. Juno moved to a window, peering through the shutters at the street below. A Luminar patrol just entered the market, she reported grimly. And they're led by a woman who looks remarkably like you, Thalia. Freya, Thalia whispered. My cousin, she's commander of special operations now. You can't stay here, Juno decided. There's a hidden room beneath the workshop. Rest there while I gather information. The hidden room was small but comfortable, clearly designed for hiding fugitives. As night fell, they heard footsteps above as Juno returned with news. Your cousin is methodically searching every building, she told them. She has your image and Ravi's projected for all to see. The bounty has doubled since this morning. We need to leave Marava, Ravi said. Juno shook her head. Every exit is watched, but I have a plan. She unrolled a weathered map on the table. 3 miles east of here are the ruins of an ancient observatory predating the Sundering. The desert storms have partially buried it, but the underground chambers remain intact. A diversion, Thalia asked. Better, Juno replied. A revelation. The ruins contain records that prove your peoples were once united in the pursuit of knowledge. If you can access those records and broadcast them using Luminarian communication technology, it might force both sides to reconsider their positions. Broadcast classified information. Thalia's scientific training rebelled at the thought. That violates everything I've been taught. Sometimes the rules must be broken for truth to prevail, Ravi said gently. Isn't that why you left with me? Dawn found them crawling through a narrow tunnel beneath Marava, following Juno through the darkness. They emerged half a mile from the city, where 3 sandbikes waited, partially buried to hide them from patrols. The ruins are marked on this map, Juno said, handing a compass to Ravi. I've programmed the coordinates into your tracker. Once there, Thalia's tablet should interface with the ancient systems, if they still function. You're not coming with us? Thalia asked. Juno shook her head. Someone needs to create a diversion. I'll lead the patrols north, away from the ruins. With luck, it will buy you enough time. They embraced briefly, then mounted the sandbikes and sped east across the dunes. The twin suns climbed higher, beating down mercilessly as they raced toward the ruins. Behind them, smoke rose from Marava, Juno's diversion in action. The ruins appeared suddenly, a series of half-buried domes and columns emerging from the sand like the skeleton of some ancient beast. They abandoned the bikes behind a dune and approached cautiously on foot. There, Ravi pointed to a partially exposed doorway. That's the entrance to the main chamber. They had just reached the doorway when the sound of engines broke the desert silence. A Luminar patrol craft appeared on the horizon, flanked by 2 smaller vehicles, headed directly for the ruins. They found us, Thalia gasped. How? No time, Ravi urged her toward the entrance. We need to get inside. The door was jammed with sand, requiring both their strength to force it open. They slipped inside just as the patrol craft began its descent. The interior was dark, illuminated only by thin shafts of sunlight penetrating from above. Ancient consoles lined the walls, their surfaces covered in dust. Can you activate it? Ravi asked as they moved deeper into the structure. Thalia examined the consoles. These are similar to designs in our historical archives, if I can find a power source. She worked quickly, connecting her tablet to various interfaces, searching for signs of life in the ancient systems. Outside, they could hear voices approaching, the search party combing the ruins. Thalia, a familiar voice called. We know you're in there. Come out peacefully and no harm will come to either of you. Freya, Thalia whispered, her hands trembling slightly as she continued working. They're lying, Ravi said grimly. Keep going. A console suddenly hummed to life, lights flickering across its surface. Thalia gave a triumphant sound as holographic displays activated, filling the chamber with ghostly star maps. It works, she exclaimed. These are stellar calculations from before the Sundering, proving both our peoples work together. I can broadcast this to all luminar frequencies and sunfare communication beacons. Footsteps echoed in the entrance tunnel. Thalia's fingers flew across the console, preparing the broadcast. Just as she reached for the activation sequence, Freya appeared in the doorway, weapon drawn. Step away from the console, she commanded. Behind her stood 4 armed guards and, surprisingly, 2 Sunfire elders in traditional garb. Freya, please, Thalia implored. Look at these records. Our peoples were once united in knowledge. The Valley of Ancestors belongs to both cultures. The valley contains technology that could shift the balance of power, Freya replied coldly. Director Holloway has deemed it too dangerous to share. One of the Sunfire elders stepped forward, his weathered face grave. And our council believes sacred knowledge must remain protected, not exploited by Luminar's machines. Ravi moved to stand beside Thalia. Then both sides prefer conflict over truth. You would rather fight over knowledge than share it for the benefit of all. The choice isn't that simple, Freya insisted. It is exactly that simple, Thalia countered, and I'm making it now. Her hand hovered over the broadcast activation. Freya raised her weapon. That would be treason. No, Thalia replied calmly. That would be progress. She pressed the activation control. The consoles pulsed with energy as the ancient records began transmitting to every communication device in both territories. Holographic star maps expanded, filling the chamber with light, revealing technological designs and astronomical calculations that transcended cultural divisions. For a moment, no one moved, transfixed by the beauty and complexity of the shared heritage unfolding before them. Then Freya lowered her weapon slowly. Director Holloway didn't tell us everything, she admitted, her voice barely audible. These designs, they're meant to work in tandem, Luminar technology with Sunfire navigation. The elder who had spoken earlier moved closer to the displays, wonder replacing hostility in his eyes. The ancestors foresaw a time when the knowledge would need to be rediscovered, when the peoples would need to be reunited. The tension in the chamber shifted subtly, as guards and elders alike were drawn to different aspects of the display, murmuring in amazement. Thalia found Ravi's hand and squeezed it tightly. What happens now? She whispered. Now we negotiate, he replied, with truth as our strongest position. In the days that followed, representatives from both territories gathered at the ruins, brought together by the undeniable evidence of their shared past. The charges against Thalia and Ravi were reluctantly dropped as both sides recognized the broader implications of the discovery. Under a temporary truce, a joint expedition was planned to the Valley of Ancestors, with Thalia and Ravi designated as co-leaders. Their relationship, once forbidden, became symbolic of the potential for cooperation. As they stood at the edge of the ruins, watching luminarians and Sunfire nomads working side by side to excavate the ancient observatory, Thalia leaned against Ravi's shoulder. Do you think it will last, she asked, this fragile peace? Ravi looked up at the sky, where the 2 moons were visible even in daylight. The convergence that revealed the valley happens once every 87 years. Perhaps that's how long peace lasts, until people need to be reminded again of what truly matters. Thalia smiled, her scientist's mind already calculating the next convergence. Then we'll make sure they remember, through our work, through our story. Through us, Ravi agreed, and in the shadow of ancient knowledge, they sealed their promise with a kiss. No longer fugitives, but pioneers of a new understanding between worlds once divided. The desert wind swept across the dunes, carrying their hope toward the horizon, where the borders between territories suddenly seemed less defined, less important than the boundless stars above that had guided them home. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.